Okay, since we are live.
Yay! My little clicker thing isn't working. How's the audio?
I don't. Buffering.
Is it showing up in your?
Okay. Stream is healthy. Yay, healthy. Is it showing up? We have nobody watching. So, I don't think it has shown up yet. Oh, we have 3. So.
Okay, I didn't finish the
Slides.
the final slide, so we're just going to bring that.
All right.
All right, let me try the cast here.
Hello and welcome.
Any questions?
Are we ready?
Give me a mic check.
Hello and welcome to A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog. I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for watching. If you stick with us for a couple of seconds, we're going to answer all your questions for you. That's not like our canned opening, is it?
Stick with us for a few seconds and Toby will answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And action. Let me see if I can get this thing to work. Okay, here we go.
I'm looking for comments. All right. Kyle Lambert says hi. And
all right.
Cindy Guest says hello. Hello.
Hi, Cindy. Oh, I can see him up here. I need to turn the camera down just a little bit, so bear with me.
DJ Navitech says good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Let me just turn it down just a little.
And we had a little bit of a rough start, but we're getting going. We thank you for tuning in and staying with us through the technical difficulties here.
Okay, so thanks everybody for joining us today. And as Shelley said, my internet, which is Comcast cable, is infallible. And literally 15 minutes before we started today, it started behaving really poorly. How's the? That's always a concern when we're streaming. So just give us a thumbs up or something like that.
Can somebody type in an answer? Let us know. Can you hear us well? Do we need to change anything for your viewing?
So what we're going to be doing today is answering any questions that you have live. We do have some canned questions that came to us ahead of time, sent to us by people who couldn't be here today. So we're going to start with those, and then we'll continue with your questions. But before I do that, I need to take care of something. So why don't you talk about...
Audio is good.
Audio is good. What we're going to do this week, the topic for next week, did I tell you what it was? We haven't had that conversation. What makes Fenn's play special?
Oh, okay.
And then November 2nd. Just talk to them for a second about that.
Well, today is my birthday, so it was fun to do a live stream today, and we were hoping to get to 1,000 subscribers. We almost got there. We're still working on our subscribers. Thank you, Thomas, and thank you for tuning in as well. Again, we're going to be doing the live stream at Collected Works Bookstore in Santa Fe on November 2nd. That's a Thursday of Forrest Fenn's book. And hopefully everything will go well with our live stream. But if not, if we have any technical difficulties that keep us from streaming live, we'll still be recording it and putting it up on our channel for everyone to see. So, oh, well, thank you for the birthday wishes. And again, if you know anybody who still hasn't...
Because I can't get the
Xfinity
to
do Chromecast. And now we lost everybody.
We lost everything.
Everybody's gone. They all left. Stream is resumed. Stream. Hi. So, I think we're back on. One watching. I think that's me.
Are you on over there?
It says the stream live. It's live, but then it's video playback interrupted. Please try again.
Can you see the stream there on the...
Yes. Welcome back. We're back up to 9. Okay.
Well, let's see.
Brian says they're here. Okay.
So I'm going to have to fake the... the questions from over here. Can you switch back and forth between Google Drive? Okay, wait a minute. Let's get this done before this melts in the thing. So the reason...
melts any more than it already has.
Oh my God. The reason I disappeared for a second was so I could light all these melted candles now. It's a bad day, so I'm not sure why.
Oh.
Happy 29th birthday.
Thank you.
We'll eat that later, huh?
And I wished for the live stream to work the rest of the day.
Well, so we have viewers. Is going to be the questions. Now, when we do the live stream with the Mevo, we can always tell we're having problems with the audio when we start talking loud. It shuts us off for a second. So if we're talking too loud that you can hear a break in our conversation, please let us know. So we use this all the time for other situations, but have never... Kylie says happy birthday. Okay, so let me see if I can somehow cast this Q&A over.
Okay, so we are also having a whole lot of construction right outside, so
Yeah,
sometimes that messes with our internet as well. We thank you for your patience, and of course Toby's been testing this for almost a month now, and it works pretty much every time he's tested it, but then we get to the point where we're ready to try it out, and this is what happens. So it takes a lot of patience to work with a live stream, especially when you're using the Mevo camera.
And the reason we use the Mevo is because it's a high quality camera and is designed specifically to do this. And honestly, the problem today is not with the Mevo. I hope you can hear me. The problem today is not with the Mevo. Oh, I have a present for you too.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at that. It's got a map around it. Careful.
That's a map of New Mexico.
Should I open it now?
Yeah, that would be nice. Go ahead.
Is it a book?
It looks like one. Well, I'm trying to get the Chromecast. I'm not even going to waste my time here. I'm just going to read questions from here.
Okay.
You know what this is?
Piece of string?
No, it's paracord.
Oh, it's paracord.
And a map.
And a map.
Because you're like the adventurer.
So is there treasure inside?
Well, if you save the map,
yes,
and take a look at it very carefully, you will find absolutely nothing.
Oh.
Oh.
You gave away the secret. I was saving the map because you said it was important. It's a box. What's inside the box? This is like a box opening video now. Oh, tape.
Video Tarot is gone. I mean, my in-house wireless for some reason has disappeared completely.
Oh, look. It's a camera. Zoom.
So it's a Zoom Q4, and it's a vlogging camera. Shelley wanted her own vlogging camera. And
I launched my own channel called Wisdom Included.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in seeing me on daily vlogs and doing interviews on my own channel, check out Wisdom Included. Thank you.
Hang on. Let me see if I can get the questions up here.
Okay.
In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, just enter them in the comments box below, and we'll be able to answer them there. And again, I apologize. I haven't had, as the people who stay up with me late at night, who sign in, will tell you, we haven't had this many problems with this.
Yes. Well, sometimes in the middle of the day is the most rampant use of internet, especially during Balloon Fiesta.
I think it's that darn construction. Okay, I'm going to try to cast this from here. Let me see if I can do that.
Okay. So if you have any questions for us, you can go ahead and type them in at this time, and we'll take a look at those.
Okay. So I can't seem to get the cast going right. What? Did we lose him again?
No.
Oh, okay.
So she said, cool gift. I said, yeah.
So DJ Navitech, the camera that we're using is called the Mevo by Livestream. Livestream is, as you probably well know, is a live streaming company that started by providing online live streaming services, and then over the years has developed a bunch of technology associated with it. This particular camera is their latest iteration of easy-to-use streaming, and I think as many people love it as they do hate it, because it's very finicky. But I can assure you that today's problems are not associated with the camera. They're associated with the fact that we're doing construction literally right outside my door, and I think they've dived into my internet connection, my cable connection. So I'm going to try this one more time. I'm going to try and cast this.
One more question.
Okay.
Or two more, actually. Have you guys ever looked at other treasure hunts?
Not any more than watching Mike Cowling video, the Cowlazar's video. He talks about several. We're going to spend, since the search season is about to end for us, we're going to take a look at some of the other searches and see if there's any potential in any of them. I think the problem with it is that there are so many, you have to be very selective and decide exactly which ones work for you. So I think we may take a look at them. I think what I've noticed about them is that the people who establish these treasure hunts usually write a book associated with them. And reading a book is very different when looking for clues than reading a poem. And I think the people that found the breakfast, tea, and bourbon treasure, you had to read the entire book in order to put all the clues together. So we've considered it. We haven't selected one just yet, and we're not sure that we're going to. We're pretty happy sticking with a Gypsy's Kiss and investing our time and financial resources in that for now.
And the nice thing, too, is that we have the opportunity to speak with the person who hid the treasure because he's not that far away, and he does occasionally answer an email.
Yeah,
so
he'll respond. Cool. He'll respond to an email as long as it doesn't have to do specifically with the treasure. For those of you who signed in late, these are Shelley's. This is Shelley's birthday cake, and I had
And
the
it
letters
said,
that said 29 again, but
oh, 29
unfortunately,
again.
while I was fighting with the system, they melted. That's what it said.
Oh, how sad.
But it's a nice cake. I know you like chocolate.
Yes, I
So.
do. Who doesn't? So
Okay.
Cindy Guest has a question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Is it possible the treasure could have been hidden in Hyde Park or near the Cowles area? If not, why?
We've considered that because Fenn has spent some time up in Pecos. His family or one of his son-in-laws owns inherited property up there, so I know that they've spent a lot of time up there. It is possible, but you've got to adhere to that 8.5 miles north of the northern boundary of Santa Fe, and if you draw either a straight line or a curved line representing that distance, it would be a real stretch to find yourself searching for the treasure in Hyde or in the Santa Fe National Forest above Cowles. And I know because I spend a lot of time fishing up there. Cowles is actually one of my favorite fishing spots once you go north of the campground. So it is possible as long as you're outside that 8.25-mile limit. And I think what nobody has ever done is they've never, if you were to put a compass at the 8.25-mile northern boundary, and draw the 8.25 miles from the northern boundary of Santa Fe. Nobody has ever asked Fenn, is it a straight line across the same way that longitude would be, or is it a curved line from there? Each of those produce a different set of results. I think if it's a curved line, it could be both in Hyde Park and Cowles. If it's a straight line, they don't fit.
And the next question, what are your thoughts of the poem somehow being Morse code? And I think we believe we've taken a look at the poem as a coded product, and we don't think that Fenn was into coding, that he had an interest in that his interests would lie more in history and archaeology, and that it's doubtful that it's a code. It's more of getting to know the man, getting to know his life, and why he would say, the things that he says, or why he would write those clues in that way. What do you think?
Well, so the interesting part about this question is that he asked specifically if it's Morse code, or did he did alpha, did Bravo, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you were to take and translate each of the letters into Morse code, and then lay them out. The tough part with Morse code is there's no regularity to the letters. Most ciphers have a regularity, as you've seen in our treasure hunts that we finished. So that's the first thing. I don't know how you get from Morse code to some sort of code that helps you find the treasure. The second thing is Fenn, for all the research that we've done, for all his interests, whether it's as a pilot, as an amateur archaeologist, as an amateur anthropologist, as an author, has never indicated an interest in ciphers as much as he has in puzzles. And ciphers and puzzles, as most people who study both of them, are two different things. They're structured differently, their goals are different, and how they're interpreted are different. So while we do think he is very good at puzzles, as indicated by the poem, we don't think he's ever indicated an interest in ciphers or in coding.
Okay, and
Encoding.
Brian Schultz wants to know, no, not Brian Schultz, Jimmy Fast, why 8.25, why not 8 or 9? And that's because it wasn't actually given in miles. Is that correct?
That's correct. The 8.25 is an interpretation of Forrest described it. He said that the treasure is hidden further north than 66,000 links north of the border of Santa Fe, right? So greater than, it is further than 66,000 links north of the border of the northern border of Santa Fe, the city of Santa Fe. 66,000 links translate almost precisely to 8.25 miles. That's why.
And Brian Schultz doesn't ask a question, but he did say anything above 270 degrees he considers northerly or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. If you look at, I think the explanation is from 271 degrees west to 89 degrees east is, as far as he's concerned, north. And that's why some people feel justified in saying looking in and around Chaco Canyon. Now, there's other reasons not to look in there, but that would fit that qualification of everything from 271 degrees west to 89 degrees east, as far as Fenn is concerned, is north.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what we have at this point.
Okay,
so.
well, let me answer a couple that are on that we got in either email or on our Facebook page. This one is from Ashley Bergstrom on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And the first thing she says is, "Happy birthday, Shelley. Go Libras."
Yay.
Libras are not a football team, of course. They're a sign of the zodiac. Mm-hmm. And Shelley's a Libra. And I don't know how it worked out that way, but my first girlfriend, my first, second, and third wives, the daughter that required the most attention, and my last girlfriend were all Libras, so there's something there. So she says, what is your current interpretation of, quote, "in the wood," unquote? Ashley, we don't think "in the wood" is a clue that is related to the treasure. We think it's part of that fifth and sixth. So one of the things that we insist upon in our sandwich theory is that the first, fifth, and sixth stanzas of the poem, while not filler, are more related to the legalities of owning the treasure and passing the title on to someone else who finds the treasure. We think that the first, fifth, and sixth stanzas are not clues. They're legal language that could be, if necessary, interpreted as, in a court of law, as, I own this treasure, I'm sane, and I'm doing this of my own free will. And now, to whomever finds the treasure, whomever was in the wood and braving the cold, I'm passing the title to this treasure to them. So we don't think necessarily it's a clue. She also has a second question. It says, besides the Zia talked about in your, quote, "where to find the blaze," unquote, vlog, are there any other petroglyphs or rock markings that you are focusing on? That's an interesting question. Well, first of all, I never said it was a Zia symbol, and the reason is the Zia symbol.
I did.
Oh, did you?
Well, I pointed out that it looked like a Zia.
Oh, okay. All right. So the Zia symbol is very much associated with the Puebloan tribes. When we do look for petroglyphs, we basically look for two kinds of petroglyphs or pictographs, because up north you're more likely to find pictographs than you are petroglyphs. We look for two kinds. One are pictographs or petroglyphs associated with what I would refer to as holy places in terms of the Native American burials, et cetera, et cetera. And then the other are cosmological or astronomical, not astrological, but astronomical in their nature. The indications of comets and stars and suns and nebula that they've noticed and had to document. I'm not even sure that there is a Native American symbol for sun. I know there are for comets and stars and nebula that have blown up, et cetera, that they interpreted in a different way. So that's what we're looking for, cosmological and things that are related to what I'd call places of reverence, burial sites, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, we've got DJ Navitech. Forrest Fenn mentioned in the book about the waterfall in Laos that he made a promise that he would see. Do you think just heavy loads and water high is in reference to a waterfall?
Wow. So let me give you a caveat here. These are our opinions. Okay. So let me qualify with what I'm about to say. We believe that it's hard to interpret that the heavy loads and water high without imagining it as a waterfall. The options could include high lakes, places like that, or water at high levels behind dams. But Fenn has already said there's no dam involved in the clues that he heard. So we think it's very plausible to be some form of waterfall. But honestly, as we've been out on our 27 recons, we find everything from the classic high mountain waterfall that you find all over Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana, to what we found in Cimarron, which was literally a trickle out of a small cliff face, right? That Shelley actually discovered just by, she kept saying, I can hear the sound of falling water. The problem that I've had with waterfalls is that for some reason, they are always difficult to get to. As I go searching for a waterfall, and the best example is the high waterfall at Poposia. It's called Poposia Falls on the Middle Poposia River. It's a 2.5-hour hike, and it's not a difficult hike, but you'd have to make that. It's a mountainous hike, and you'd have to make that hike. And a lot of the waterfalls here in New Mexico are the same way. The waterfalls in Colorado, except for a few that are right off the road, are the same way, because I've been all over. I've been all over the Rockies in Colorado. So I think the challenge with the whole waterfall theory is not that it couldn't be a waterfall. I agree with you that it has the potential to be. It's just that generally speaking, waterfalls, for some reason or the other, are difficult to get to.
That's true. That's true. And once you have boots on the ground, a lot of times what you thought you were going to find, or what you thought you were going to look for, it changes because of the difficulty of getting to where you thought you wanted to go.
Yeah, take Tony DeCopel's advice. Think like an octogenarian. So
Kyle Lambert
are these wax things going to ruin my cake that I got for you?
Well,
I was going to say that I made for you, but I guess I should admit that already.
Kyle Lambert, wouldn't I give you title to the gold itself accomplish the same thing as your interpretation of in the wood, therefore freeing up in the wood to mean something else?
Again, the implication is that in the wood, there is no doubt that in the wood means something. Whether or not what I disagree with is that in the wood, either in the wood or if you've been brave and what is it, in the cold? It's not in the cold. If you've been brave.
And in the wood.
Something about the cold precedes that, because it's gold. I give you title to the gold. If you've been brave and in the wood, something about the cold.
It's worth the cold.
Okay. So my point is that they don't fit in, and again, we're expressing our opinions here, with our paradigm of what the clues to the poem are. Now, they may very well, as Fenn refers to them, hints, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to get you any closer to the treasure. And I think it could be a distraction. And I think it could be interpreted as a legal qualifier. That is, if you've gone through all the trouble, if you've been in the cold and you've been in the wood, meaning you have been through, you have gone through the trouble of recovering this treasure, then I'm going to give you title to it.
Okay. And yeah, in the wood is a nice poetry term.
Well, that's the other thing too.
Like
yeah.
Frost.
Right. He's not taking poetic license here. He's got a very structured poem, that could be described as a standard for a couple of other poem writers, including the guy that wrote Alice in Wonderland. What's his name? Lewis Carroll.
Yes.
who used exactly the same rhyme and meter.
Okay, so if I say in the wood, it gives you that feeling immediately, because if you've been in the woods, it gives you that, okay, I can smell the pine trees. I feel the cool air. I hear the birds. So it gives you that surround feeling, just including it in there as poetic words.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to have some putting. Let me take one from email. Oh, this one's from YouTube comment. This is from Brenda O'Donovan. Hi, Brenda. She says, are you going to write a book on how you found the treasure once you find it? Well, that's nice, positive thinking. I like that. She thinks like we do, right? Just assume you're going to find it. We are not. We are not Our plan is to
Toby won't let me.
our plan is to maintain our anonymity, not to mention even that we found the treasure, not to mention where we found it, and as rapidly as possible monetize the treasure into cash. So no, and then go on with our lives as anonymously as possible. We have no intention of writing a book once we find it.
Where do you feel, this is from Cindy Guess, where do you feel warm waters halt on or near the Cimarron?
So this goes back to our interpretation of warm waters. 26 of the New Mexico Fishing Regulation. The New Mexico State Game and Fish Department defines warm waters as those that are not trout waters, effectively, right? So warm waters are not trout waters. That's a simple way to put it. Then in further pages, 27, I think, they start defining specifically where trout waters are located. So on the Cimarron River, trout waters are located on the Cimarron at the eastern boundary of the Colby campground. So now I know exactly where warm waters halt, because even though the water temperatures are precisely the same at that location, the state government has decided that those warm waters end there and trout waters begin at exactly the same place. So I can get on the Cimarron a geographic coordinate of exactly where warm waters halt. The other definitions of warm waters that I've seen cannot provide you an exact location, and they have two problems with it. What?
People are saying hi.
Oh, they have there's two problems with it. Number one, it's very difficult to produce an exact location. And I'll give you an example of one that can give you the exact location, the intersection of the Firehole River and the Gibbon River before it becomes the Madison. That could be pretty exact, but then where are the warm waters? Right, what are warm waters? That leads you into discussion. The advantage to the state of New Mexico fishing regulations as warm waters is they've defined it for you. And we know he was a fisherman. He was a lifelong fisherman. He was in New Mexico from 1972. So every year he bought a New Mexico state fishing license and he got the annual guide. So he knew exactly what warm waters were and where they started and ended on each river in northern New Mexico. And I think we did a show on that because you can actually pinpoint 8 locations in an area along the Rocky Mountains where you can pinpoint with geographic exactitude where warm waters halt on those streams. Here's the other advantages. They always intersect with the beginning of Canyon Down. So warm waters halt and Canyon Down now is a geographically exact location if you use that definition of warm waters.
Okay, we're going to shorten these up because we're running out of time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let's just keep going. I got plenty of battery power, I think.
Okay, I have heard the blaze. This is from Amy Camo, I believe it is. I have heard the blaze is white. Is this true? Well, when Forrest was asked what is a blaze, the things that he brought up were things that were white.
White blaze on a horse, white.
But he never actually said the blaze is white.
Yeah. The lore that the blaze is white certainly exists. There is nothing definitive that would indicate for certain that the blaze is white. The blaze can be anything and any color, but there is a geologic possibility that a blaze, a white granite or a white quartz blaze could be embedded in a different kind of stone, making an indicator. So it could be as much as it could be anything else, up to and including, a blaze cut into a tree or something like that. There is nothing definitive, to the best of my knowledge, where Forrest Fenn has said the blaze is white.
I said that.
What?
I said that.
You said it was white.
No,
I said
he said that he never said it was white.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Anyway.
Let me do one from Gmail. In your opinion,
Shorten them up.
oh, okay. In your opinion, which is worth more, the treasure chest or the story, pictures, and or videos of finding the treasure chest? Okay, so that depends. If you're talking about the treasure chest as as an item containing all these valuables, and that's how you treat it, the treasure chest has been estimated between $1 and $2 million. It is likely to me that you could make between more than $1 and $2 million on the story, regardless of how it's made, whether it's a documentary or a book, etc., etc. The problem is maintaining the treasure in that configuration is going to be difficult, and what I want to do is monetize it with as little pain as possible. I don't want to spend 3 years, 5 years, rest of my life producing movies, books, etc. Even as an executive producer, that's why our plan is to ensure that the treasure remains intact, including leaving the olive jar sealed and turning it over to Sotheby's auction house in New York and having them auction it off. We think its value then can be as little as 5 million and as much as 10 million. And I haven't had to work for it. I just turned it over. I have no desire, and I've convinced Shelley not to have any desire to own the treasure. It's a lot more fun to own cash.
Okay. So we have a question from J to the T, 1927. Will you be asking Forrest Fenn any specific questions at the upcoming book release? Do you still question the time frame on when the treasure was hidden?
Let me answer the first one. Let me answer your second question first. Yes, I do believe that the treasure was not hidden in 2010. I continue to believe that. The times that I've proposed that, as a matter of fact, Fenn saw the treasure and wrote me an email.
Saw the treasure?
I'm sorry, saw that video in which we made that claim and wrote me an email suggesting that I was making stuff up. I'm not making stuff up. I'm simply expressing opinions. And the problem with what we're doing on that night is that we're responsible for streaming. I don't know if you were here for the start of just this event. Streaming is iffy at best. And so I'm going to be, generally speaking, totally focused on making sure that the stream has quality. Now, we're going to be streaming it on YouTube. And what I plan to do before the event starts is to ask Forrest if he's willing to take a couple of questions from the online audience. He's agreed to that in the past, and I think we can do that. Now we're going to have to be very judicious to make sure they're not those pokey questions that he doesn't like at all. But if we do ask questions at that event, it will likely not be our questions. It will likely be questions that people have submitted to us while watching the event online. We'll do the best that we can, but it's up to Forrest. And so we'll try and get permission from him beforehand. But even then, it'll be 1 or 2 questions. I know him. The audience just buries him with questions, and he's like me. There are no short answers.
Okay, we have one from Rock Psychic Realist. What do the words... And first I want to say thank you to Snow17 for subscribing. Thank you. Rock Psychic Realist. What do the words take it in the canyon down mean to you?
Simply put, it means travel down the canyon to me. Take it means, I guess translated, it means take your solution, if you will, down the canyon, continue down the canyon from the point at which the canyon, whatever the canyon is, intersects with where warm waters halt. So whenever I see the word it, I think of it as my plan. Take your plan in the canyon down. Take it to the home of Brown, put in below the home of Brown, et cetera, et cetera. So to me, it's your plan. It's not carrying something. It is not an object of any kind.
Okay. Let's see. Seamonkey.
Seamonkey. Hey, brother.
Seamonkeyification? Okay, I don't know.
He's always got comments on our videos. He's a subscriber.
Fenn has stated that toponymy is not important in the search. If place names are not important, then why is brown capitalized? And we had a little conversation about that here. Jesse says, where is it? Oh, never mind. Okay, that's later.
Okay.
Yes, so did you get the, why is brown capitalized?
Yeah, why is, because we believe that the capitalization of the word brown is Fenn's nod of the head to his very good friend Eric Sloan, who incorporated a discussion of the word brown, or the color brown, in his book 80, which was published in 1985 when he was 80, and he passed away the same year while he was in Manhattan, standing on a street corner in Manhattan. In that book, he describes it how underappreciated the color brown is, and he capitalizes it. And we believe that when Fenn used the word brown with a capital letter in the poem, it's, as I said, an acknowledgement of, and oh, by the way, Sloan painted a series of paintings after that in using brown as a primary color. And so I think we believe that it's a recognition of the value of the color brown to Eric Sloan, and that's why in the past we've considered the possibility that it's a reference to the color brown, and that capitalization wouldn't normally occur, but that Eric Sloan loved the color and loved Eric Sloan.
I'm just going to answer Adam Foddy's question.
Adam!
Adam.
Is that UK Adam?
Yes. Are you going to post this video on your channel once it's completed so I can rewatch later? Yes, we're going to edit out the oopsies and the technical difficulty stuff, and we will repost the questions as our vlog for the day, and you'll get to see that tomorrow morning?
Yeah,
tomorrow morning at the usual time.
So, Adam, whenever we do a live stream, and that's why we're seriously considering, assuming that we get cooperation from Comcast, we're considering just streaming all of our future vlogs from this point forward, because what YouTube does is they take this vlog, they process it, and they make it an actual video. So it remains there without us having to do anything. No editing, no rendering.
We're not going to get rid of the technical difficulties?
No, we're going to get rid of the technical, I promise you.
Okay.
It just, I'm going to call Comcast when we get off here and ask them what the heck is going on.
Okay, good. We have so many more questions here.
Really? Well, let's get to them. You need to make them short questions.
Hey, you're the one that's taking forever to answer them. Okay, so Joel. So I think we answered Joel's question, but I'm going to read it out loud anyways.
Okay.
Have you considered that Brown could be his cow Bessie? And if so, could the home of Brown be a barn, which he mentions in The Thrill of the Chase, as in Barnes Hole on the Mount River?
No, I don't get past anything but simple solutions when I'm looking at the poem. I refuse to allow ourselves to get into those complex discussions of, multi-layered. Brown is brown, as is Where Warm Waters Halt. Occam's razor in all of this. He was a fighter pilot. And one of the things that you know about fighter pilots is that they're, this is going to come out wrong, they're simplistic. They look for the simplest solutions to a problem because their lives and other people's lives are dependent upon that. Occam's razor. Entia non sunt multiplicanda praeter necessitatem. Don't multiply entities beyond their necessity. Brown is brown.
Okay, so keeping it short includes not repeating everything in Latin.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so here's the little conversation I had mentioned between.
Did you put your finger in there?
A little. It's my cake.
All right, it is.
This is the conversation between Jesse and Seamonkey.
Okay.
Has Forrest Fenn ever confirmed that the clues in the poem are in the search area? And Seamonkey says, Jesse, that was a question I posed to Forrest, but never was answered. Are all of the clues located within the highlighted region of the map?
I think all the clues, in my opinion, the answer to the question is yes. And the reason is that, my opinion, all the clues are, well, let me put it this way. And we did a video on this. If you locate the correct Where Warm Waters Halt, you are within a maximum of 5 miles from the treasure.
Okay. I have a little conversation going on here between Cindy and Ashley.
Ashley Bergstrom?
Yes.
Hi, Ashley. I didn't think you were going to be able to make it. We read your question already.
Okay. Do you think Mr. Fenn is watching this live stream? And how much investigating do you think Forrest does on the various blogs? You mentioned he watched your videos.
I don't know. I can't tell you. He's, for as retired a man as he is, he's very busy. He's got a lot of things on, especially with this the publishing of this new book. I exchanged emails with him last week, and he was talking about the book was in production and going to binding, so he's keeping tracks of that. I'd be surprised. He has on occasion watched our videos. I don't think he does that regularly, nor I do believe he checks in on the blogs, but I don't believe, like most people, he's 27 different characters and, that he spends his days on the blog seeing what people are talking about him. He did send me an email about, I don't know, I guess it was about a month ago, when it was suggested that after we talked about the Denver, we made light of Doug Preston's, not light, but we questioned Doug Preston's, what do you call it? Preface. Is it the preface of the book?
It's the foreword.
And apparently some of the people on the blogs came to the conclusion that I was somehow
attacking Forrest.
Attacking Forrest, and that I had turned on him was the words. And he read that because I got an email from him the following evening, and the email said, Toby, people are saying on the blogs are saying that you've turned on me. What are they talking about? And I had to explain myself to him. And he said, the follow-up to that was, oh, okay. But he said at that point, I didn't even know you had a YouTube channel. So I don't, up until that time, certainly a month ago, he wasn't watching them.
Right. And we feel that he got back into it because of the book. He wanted to see what sort of reaction the forward had gotten.
I think for him, the blogs and our work and whatever is found on YouTube are just marketing research. What's the state of the search and how are people responding to it and responding to him, et cetera, et cetera.
Jimmy Fast wants to know, when does the search end each year and why?
I think the search, if you consider the Rocky Mountains, both from an altitude perspective and from the way winter treats the Rockies, I think the search ends snow above 5,000 feet.
And it's been snowing.
Yeah, and it has been snowing. I think that traditionally has been the annual end to the search. And then when the first spring melt comes up, and of course it starts earlier in New Mexico than it does up in Montana, as do the snows start earlier in Montana than they do in New Mexico. Has it snowed? I don't think it snowed up in Cimarron, did it?
It snowed in Salida, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. So we're seeing snow north of us. I was actually planning to go make one more run up to Cimarron this weekend, both for fishing and treasure hunting.
It was going to be a short storm and then warm up again.
So I don't know necessarily that there's an official end, but I think the traditional end is when there's snow on the ground above 5,000 feet, because Fenn has said he doesn't want to put you in danger, and snow above the ground 5,000 feet makes for some pretty slick roads and some pretty horrendous even walking, much less climbing.
Okay, Fibonacci. In the poem, the phrase, "Look quickly down." What is your opinion on why we have to look quickly down? To me, it implies that the treasure hunter is moving past the location rapidly.
The look quickly down, again, we have to deal with the rhyme and meter of the poem. If he had said look down, up. So I've always thought about that, not in terms of where the treasure is, but where the blaze is. And I think if you're looking up at the blaze, quickly down, you'll find the treasure. And I think the quickly part is simply an affectation of rhyme and meter in the poem.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. Mr. G, what year do you think Fenn last personally piloted a plane himself?
I would say 2002, because he put the plane up for, he sold the plane transactionally in October 2002, and he let his license expire soon after that. And he said the reason was that the the Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security had created a whole new set of requirements for pilots relicensing, and he wasn't interested in going through that at all. So I would say the last time he flew was in the 2002, maybe 2003 range. He piloted an aircraft.
Okay. Jared Alexander, with regards to the contents of the chest, what are you 100% certain is in the box?
I would say I'm 100% certain that everything that exists in the book is in the box.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
There are probably other items in there. I don't think he gave us a full inventory, because he would have, there's some probably small pieces in there. But I have to assume, if I'm looking for the treasure, and let me talk about that for just a minute. There's certain assumptions, if you decide you want to spend time looking for this treasure, you have to make in terms of Fenn. One of the assumptions you have to make is that the box contains the items, at least the items that he wrote the box contained in the book.
Yes. And Snow 17, our new subscriber.
Yay.
Since hiding the treasure, do you think that Forrest Fenn has returned to check in on it at any point?
Wow, that's a good question. So this goes back to Tobys Theory. So let me put it this way. I do not believe that Fenn has been back to visit the treasure since 2010. My theory is that he hid it before that he hid it in the 2001, 2003 timeframe. And so I think it's very possible that sometime between, if you adhere to that theory, I think it's very possible that he could have gone back to visit it in that time frame, but I don't think he has visited the treasure after 2010.
And if you do what we did, and hid it within sight of the road, he could have driven by and glanced, and he didn't have to go dig it up to know it hasn't been disturbed.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. We're gonna have a show on that, and I think the title of the show is going to be Lessons Learned About Fenn While Hiding Our Own Treasures.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
So let me take one from here.
Okay.
Although Forrest will not say if he did or didn't bury the treasure, what is the likelihood that the treasure is now, quote, buried, unquote, or, quote, hidden, unquote, under rocks, dirt, fallen trees, mud, or detritus, or detritus. If you're in the UK, they say detritus. So we believe that the treasure is hidden. Mm-hmm. And in being hidden, that means it could be placed somewhere, and then that somewhere, a cover of some kind, could be placed on that somewhere. And I'll go back to Fenn's plan to bury himself near where, on top of where he hid the treasure. That means there has to be some sort of space available for that, and that it has to be protected in some way. I would expect that it has gathered the dust that one would, even the treasures that we hid for the short period of time, people say they were really dusty, and we hid them in places that were covered with stuff. We just put them inside the niche of a tree, or in the last case in a pine or a pinon, dead pinon stump. So I don't think it's any more buried than it would be if there wasn't some sort of geologic activity. And there just hasn't been any geologic activity of any substance in the Rocky Mountains since he hid the treasure. So I think effectively it's in a niche with a covering over it, a la miniature tomb kind of thing. And that would protect it from the detritus. Question? Or are you answering down there?
I'm answering a question because you were taking too long.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So somebody asked about if Fenn flew a helicopter recently, and I said, no, he's not a helicopter pilot. He hired a helicopter.
He did hire a helicopter to help search for...
And piloting a helicopter is very different from piloting an
it's a different license.
An airplane.
Yeah. It's a completely different license to fly a helicopter. Requires training.
Let's see.
Let me read this from David Chartrand.
Okay.
David Chartrand was one of the two individuals who found our first treasure that we hid in the Cimarron. He says, what do you think make Fenn's hiding spot special to him? Well, let me do a plug here. Next week's show is on what we think makes that spot special to him. So you can watch that show. But I think there's three things that you have to consider when someone identifies a spot as special. Number one, it is that spot is the location of a significant life event. You asked your wife to marry you, your spouse to marry you. It is a place in which you have spent a lot of time and it's very familiar to you, meaning you're able to search it and determine where things are, and you know that there's hiding places there. Or number three, it is a place of instinctive beauty. That is, you can stand there and to yourself, a man of the mountains and the streams, you can stand and look at this and say to yourself, gosh, this is just a beautiful place. Now, I've had in the mountains each of those experiences, certainly not asking one of my spouses to marry me, but I've had that, wow, this is a unique event in my life. I've spent a lot of time, as I said to Cindy, I've spent a lot of time in Cowles. I used to fish there with my father before he passed away when I was 11, and I've spent time fishing there since. And then the other is, this is a place of just inherent beauty. And there's a couple of places in Colorado that when I go back to Colorado, my instinct is to go back there and stand there and take in the columbines and the waterfalls and the quietness, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to cover all three of those areas in next week's program. Question?
So Kyle Lambert had a question that I'm not sure if we have an answer for, but he says, he asked a while ago about asking Mr. Fenn about hypnosis or NLP, Neurolinguistic Programming, hidden in the poem. So he wants to know its purpose and if it's to put us in the right direction. Well, NLP is kind of, if you're not a master of, I don't think you'd be able to determine if there is any in a poem. And a poem, again, is poetic language. Its specific purpose is to point us towards the treasure. So I guess, yeah, that makes sense, right?
The other thing with neurolinguistic programming is that it requires a constance, and it requires an effort that lasts more than 24 lines in 6 stanzas. There's not a lot you can do in terms of neurolinguistic programming in 24 lines.
Right. Now, a master would actually interview somebody for an hour to get a good reading on them. So,
before they even started. Yeah. Before they even started.
Let's see.
So do I want to take on this really long question from Zero Brassy?
Okay. And we are currently at 1:04 p.m.
Okay. So let's give it another 11 minutes.
Right.
Okay. So if this isn't the last one, and then let's talk about what we're going to do over the next couple of weeks. So Zero Brassy says, happy birthday, Shelley. He says, well, okay, so be patient with me on this. You have mentioned that on one particular day back in 2010, Forrest was asked by his wife, Peggy, when she returned home from a day-long outing, what he had done with a day. You said his response to her was that he went and hid the treasure. Peggy said that she didn't even know he had gone anywhere. Well, okay, so there's a couple of things. Number one, I have never said that on a particular day in 2010 because I'm not certain that Fenn hid the treasure.
Hi, Sean Scott.
There's a bunch of lore going around about that story. Fenn told the story at least once that I'm aware of, and he told it in a way that was far more simplistic. That is, he said, yeah, I went out and hid the treasure, and when I got home that afternoon, Peggy asked me where I was, and I said, I went out to hide the treasure. And she thought about something like, oh, I didn't even know you were gone. but I don't know necessarily that was in 2010. That could have been earlier than that. And by the way, between 2003 and 2010, Fenn and Peggy made car trips to Colorado, Wyoming, and Montana. Let's see, just wondering how that is known, and is this an accurate account of what has happened? It's known because he said it, and I can't remember where it's documented. I'll have to find that for you. And is it an accurate rendition? It is as accurate a rendition as any other story Fenn tells. It isn't perfect. It could be a combination of situations. In his own mind, they've all melded together to turn into a valid story, but it may not have happened in a single location. It couldn't happen a single day, et cetera, et cetera. Fenn is very good at what's the word that I'm looking for? Like consolidating. Stories for him are like a recipe. He has ingredients, and then he, like a good chef, instead of taking measurements, he pulls the various ingredients and he puts them together in a cake that will taste good to the person who eats it. But if you knew how it was made, you'd start questioning, like, oh, well, that's not exactly right, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's what you have to accommodate in any of his stories. If it is, then there wouldn't that tell us that the treasure is hidden in New Mexico? No, because they did travel together by car to other states during that period. Forrest mentioned he drove the family sedan when he hid the chest and took his 2 trips back and forth. I've never heard the word family used in that context. I've heard him say that he drove a sedan, but I've never heard the family sedan. Means it could have been a rental car. From what I understand, he wasn't even flying his plane in 2010, so there's no way he could have gone very far. So why are you guys looking in Wyoming and Montana? Well, because in 2010, he wasn't flying his plane, but between 2003 and 2010, he was driving to those locations. So it is just as likely, although I don't believe that, but just as likely to be any of the 4 states as it is in New Mexico.
Let's see. ES, any thoughts about the Denver Museum of Science and Nature? Please go to our Cross Colorado off your search list. We put out about 3 or 4 weeks ago. That'll answer your question there.
Well, let me put it another way. The Denver Museum of Nature and Science, is it? Denver Museum of
Science and Nature?
Science and Nature has as much value to your search solution as does the campus of Northern Arizona University.
Okay. P. Ding, if Forrest said he would smell pinon at the treasure chest site, doesn't that put the chase in? Doesn't that limit the chase to 2 states?
He's since corrected himself in that statement. Mm-hmm. He said he misspoke when he added pinon trees to the description of how he would find himself, the environment in which he would find himself when in that location.
Fossil Man 123, can you hide a treasure in another state for some of your other subscribers to find?
Ew, okay.
Guess
we
what?
did. Hey, we did. The last one, as you'll see in tomorrow's show, was in Colorado. And
the one that was found.
The one that was found, the most recent one. And that's what tomorrow's show we're making a program about that, about the last treasure and what we're doing with the next treasure. And the answer is yes. Our plan is, if we can figure out how to increase the value of the treasure, our plan is to hide treasures in as many of the 48 continental United States as we possibly can. But the last one was not hidden in New Mexico, nor will the next one be.
Okay. And I think you may have addressed this, but he has said that the spot is special. Is it only special to him, or could this be for others?
It could be, but then if it's special to others, how could it be special to him, I guess, is the big question. If I think of places that are special to me, they're special to me because they're special to me and not special to the whole world. Yellowstone National Park is not special to me until I get into certain areas of the park that are special to me. So the more likely that it's special to a bunch of other people, then the less likely it is special to me.
And Trove Sniffer is just saying nice things. He wants some of our cake. Sean Scott says happy birthday and thank you.
Hey, Sean Scott.
John Wood, always enjoy the videos, guys. Has Forrest said if the new book will contain any chase clues or hints?
I don't think so far he's specifically said that, but you can assume he will indicate that in some way, most likely to be heard.
And he has indicated it through Douglas.
Yeah, yeah. Most likely to be heard at the event on November 2nd.
But we have been told that these are reprintings of things he's already published, so it probably isn't going to be anything new.
Yeah, these are edited versions of 39 of the scrapbooks of the 190, I think, close to 200 scrapbooks that have been published on Dale Neitzel's side. So it's not a lot of new information, and I know that almost everyone who reads one of those scrapbooks goes back and interprets it as some form of hint or clue. I don't think there are any more hints or clues in this book than there are in, say, Too Far to Walk. The clues are in the poem, and the poem is in The Thrill of the Chase.
Yes. What place in New Mexico is most like Yellowstone? I'd say Cimarron. Eagle's Nest.
Most like Yellowstone. Well, Yellowstone covers so much territory that you can find everything from those open alpine plains to streams. I don't know necessarily that there's one place. It would be northern New Mexico, and it would be far northern New Mexico before you get into places that look like or feel like Yellowstone. But there are along the Cimarron, along the Red River, although the Red River tends to be more populous. I don't think of the Rio Grande as Yellowstone-like. There's a couple of small streams way up north that are a pain in the butt to get to if you're a trout fisherman. But there's a couple of places up there that my reaction is they're Yellowstone. We don't have anything in northern New Mexico that looks like those wide open, huge plains that you find in Yellowstone, covered not only with grasses, but buffalo.
And something similar. They wouldn't have shot Longmire here, but we did find a stream that had those long grasses in it too. And I think the Cimarron seemed to me like a small of what he had been talking about when he talked about Yellowstone.
Yeah, I would say that the Cimarron at its widest point is about the quarter of the width of Madison. It's not a big river, nor do we have any other rivers except for the Rio Grande that would compete with any of the rivers that you'll find, any of the bigger rivers that you'll find in Yellowstone.
Did Forrest explicitly state the treasure is hidden in the same place as his original location with his body had he not recovered? So did he go ahead and bury it or hide it in the place where he was originally going to hide it when he knew he was going to die? And then when he recovered, did he just put it in the same spot, or did he change spots?
I don't think he's ever specifically put those two things together. I think on more than one occasion, he's told the story of how he knew where he wanted to hide the treasure and his body. And then on other occasions, he's tied that to his special place. But like a couple of other things in the Forrest lexicon, he's never actually specifically put those two things together. You have to go to two or three different transcriptions of what he said in order to come to that conclusion. But I think you could, based on those things, I think you could easily come to that conclusion that once he identified the place, it didn't change. The box went there, and although I've heard him recently say he's not going to go through all the trouble of throwing his body on it, he's just too old for that, But I think the place stayed the same from the point that he made the decision to take the treasure and his body and plant it effectively. What?
I'm just reading. And so if you could ask Forrest Fenn one question, what would it be? And don't say, where is the treasure?
Dang nabbit, because that's what I would ask. There's so many questions, how do you, I guess if you discount where the treasure is and maybe discount any interpretation of the poem, I'd want to know about his behaviors. As a matter of fact, we've been planning a series of interviews with people who friend Forrest, and we're going to talk about his behavior with those friends, and they've agreed to do that. I would say the question that I would want to know is, because I've never had an answer to it, when did you hide the treasure? For the longest time, he used to say things like, don't go, you'd say, when did you hide the treasure? Where did you hide when did you hide the treasure? And he'd say, don't go where a 79 or 80-year-old man couldn't go, leaving you to interpret that as 2009, 2010. Recently, I've noticed after we published that video, he's starting to say, I hid it when I was about 79 or 80. And then in one case, he said, I hid it when in 2000, about 2009 or 2010. And the question I have is, if you're going to use the word about preceding those times, then why use the 2009, 2010? So I would want to know directly with the answer in a year, what year specifically was it? And what was the year in which you hid the treasure?
Yeah. Except he's already said things like, then you'll look up my travel records and things like that. So Spurious Effect wrote me a song. Happy birthday to you. You're just so darn cute. We love your new hairdo. Happy birthday to you.
That's very talented. Huh?
And P. Ding says, happy birthday, Shelley. Have a beautiful day in Santa Fe. Hopefully you've been down here to enjoy Balloon Fiesta as well. Well, actually, I do live in the Albuquerque area. We're visiting Santa Fe in November. I did go to the Balloon Fiesta first. And his daughter, Toby, were there, and my husband, and several other people. And we were there helping to crew called Coco Bird. And, I've never been to the Albuquerque International Fiesta. It is a big deal. It's the most photographed event in the world, and it's sponsored by Canon because of that. So I would recommend it to anybody. It's a very busy time of year for Albuquerque, and an unfortunate time to have all your roads under construction.
All of Central Avenue. But it does draw a big crowd, literally, from all over the world. And it's a very photogenic event, which is why I go. My daughter actually worked with Shelley and Kevin, Shelley and her husband, Kevin, on the crew. And I shot, I don't know, 250 shots of all of that, parried it down to about 70. So anything else? Are we done?
There's a lot of things. Was Fenn Haven located on Hebgen Lake?
No, it was located in West Yellow, because it started out as a small piece of property, and then they started acquiring log cabins that they moved to the property, and then it became the Dude. And one time I was having a conversation with Fenn, and I said, I'm headed up for West Yellowstone. What hotel would you recommend? And he said, the Dude, and make sure you stay in room number 4. And so, of course, my treasure head went immediately to, if I tear that room apart, maybe there's a painting. But it turns out to be the room that Ronald Reagan stayed in.
Journeyman says, answer a question you wanted to be asked but weren't on this vlog, and I'm going to do one. So Toby and I had a discussion about our fan mail video, and because it seemed to give license to some people who remain anonymous to be very unfortunately mean and rude and horrible, we are going to put that off and possibly cancel it. But I did want to say this about Toby so that all of you are aware. Toby is a disabled veteran. He's a veteran of foreign war, Vietnam. In Vietnam, he earned, well, you don't get 2 Purple Hearts, but he earned the Purple Heart twice. He was injured in battle, and actually another time that he didn't get a Purple Heart for that I know about. He also earned a Bronze Star and a Silver Star and a Vietnamese Medal of Gallantry. Is that what it's called?
Cross of Gallantry in the Vietnamese.
Because he worked closely with the South Vietnamese people to protect them. After he got out of the military, he raised 6 children, 2 boys and 4 girls. And although he was traveling around the world in a security position, he always made sure to take time off during soccer season to coach his soccer games for 16 years. And he's a grandpa. He's a wonderful grandpa. He loves babies. Actually, he was a foster parent to 24 babies. So I wanted you to know, you may think he's an arrogant know-it-all type of person, but really he's a giving and service-oriented person. And I'm very honored to work with him. So I wanted to mention that.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That was very nice. But I want you guys to think of me as a jerk. Otherwise, no. Thank you very much. I probably am a little bit arrogant in my own right. I do express my opinions as if they were right, but I want you all to know that they are opinions. We are no closer to the treasure than anyone else in this search. We have some good ideas. We work at it real hard. I've been on 27 recons. I spend a lot of time with it, analyzing these things as a matter of producing this show. So, and we love that we have subscribers and people interested in what we're doing. So if I ever get on my high horse, just let Shelley know and she'll get me back down on the ground.
That's my job, not yours.
Yeah. So.
All right, where are we at? You want to finish these? You want to answer?
I've gone through all of the questions.
We have a bunch more.
Let me look at. We've got power, so everything's going. Everything's fine. Where's the stream is good. So.
Okay.
Let's keep going. We're going to have the longest show on YouTube. It's going to take 3 days to process.
Oh yeah, this is a good question. 1, 2, 3. How will Forrest Fenn know the treasure has been found?
I believe that he's counting on somebody reporting it one way or the other, whether or not they return the bracelet to him. Because okay, we're gonna have to. Let me get a new battery. I don't know whether you noticed, but one of our lights the battery just died. So
did we turn this on? That didn't help. That helped a little bit.
There. I got one on the charger here.
Oh, okay. We have a lot of people saying thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for your support.
Yes. Well, as most of you probably are aware, when the Vietnam War ended, and Toby and all of those other servicemen came home, they weren't getting our support. They weren't getting the support of Americans. They were told to take their uniforms off and not be seen because it was gathering hate and vitriol to be wearing that uniform. In fact, he was slapped across the face while wearing his uniform. So that we have learned as a nation to thank our servicemen is something that needs
good for us
done.
as a nation. Yeah.
So thank you for thanking him.
What was that question?
How will Fenn know?
So let me go back. I think he's counting on somebody reporting it. Not the reporting includes returning the bracelet to him. That's the first thing. The second thing is I think he's going to assume that, and he said this in the past, that the person who finds the treasure is not the kind of person that's going to keep it a secret. And whenever I hear people talk about their solutions, they have various solutions that involve letting Fenn know that the treasure has been found, up to and including returning the treasure to him. Our plan is to let him know the same time everybody else in this litigious society or not, that the tri-guy attorney taking one of the owning the treasure from that. So it's in the finder's best interest, anonymously or not, to let has been. You don't have to do anything after that, but it's to your benefit for that to take place. Okay, let's do 2 more because everything's going to start.
Okay, start dying.
Yeah.
Do you think heavy loads refers to high power transmission lines? Sometimes we do when they're there.
Yeah, when the time we see them, we think that they are, but they don't fit our 100-year rule. What I mean by that is the likelihood that high power transmission lines are going to be in exactly the same locations now that they are in 100 years or 1,000 years is slim to none. So it has to be, we think a lot of the clues refer to the longevity of geology and location as opposed to things that are man-made and man-managed. So, but yeah, every time we see them, like, oh, Cimarron, they're all through Cimarron Canyon. They go right through the canyon.
I like this one, so let's do this one. If the poem solution were revealed to you today, do you believe there is a chance that one or more clues might simply just not make sense to anybody else besides Forrest?
You know, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So here's what I think about that. I think if you can get to the put in below the home of Brown, that's the which the remainder of the clues will make sense. I think all the clues make sense to Forrest. I think for the most part, because even the people that he claims were within 200 feet of the treasure, a story, by the way, he's been telling since 2012, I think. Even the people that have been within 200 feet of the treasure, he says, didn't know they were there. So I'm not sure that anyone understands the clues in the same way that Forrest does. And that's why we believe you've got to understand Forrest before you start understanding that poem. They have special meaning to him. And I think it's likely if you can get the first couple of clues, you're on your way. The neatest thing I've ever heard Forrest say was, if you can get to Warm Water's Halt, you're halfway to the treasure, metaphorically speaking. Those are his words, not mine. And to me, that's that that if you're at Warm Water's Halt, you're within 5 miles of that treasure. And when you're at the put in below the home of Brown, you're within 500 feet, maybe 1,000 feet of that treasure. So they do mean something to him, and they are difficult to decipher. But I don't think that they're to decipher. Otherwise, we wouldn't be spending our time looking for that treasure.
Okay. We kind of covered this last week, so let's say it again. Do you think it would? Do you think Forrest Fenn would have placed a GPS device in the chest?
No. No. It just wouldn't make sense. I don't think there's any electronic device because there's no electronic device that has that kind of longevity, the battery capability that has that longevity. Because we talked out this scenario, and before we knew it, we were at solar powered trail cams. So it gets technologically, and he's not a technical guy. He's an archaeologist, anthropologist, and he looks at an arrowhead that is found by circumstance, if not happenstance, pure luck. And if he believes that the treasure is going to be found by pure luck, whether he's alive or dead, and that's the other thing, after he's dead, it's not going to make any difference who finds it, when it's found, where it's found, etc., because he's going to be dead. So there's no need for him to know that the treasure's been found after he's dead. The only reason he needs to know, oh, there goes the other battery.
One last question.
Okay,
what
one last question.
Email to send us any
you can always send it to our email is gypsieskiss@gmail.com. Send your questions there.
Gypsies, GYPSYS, no apostrophe.
Right. gypsieskiss@gmail.com. And we'll do another. I actually like doing these, so we may do more of them once we get my wireless and our lights
charged.
Yeah, our batteries recharged.
Watching.
The solution to the old treasure and the new treasure on Wednesday. Next week, we're going to be talking about what makes Fenn's place special. And then on November 2nd, we'll be streaming live from the Collected Works.
And for A Gypsy's Kiss, the vlog, I'm Shelley Carney.
And I'm Toby Eunice. Thanks for watching today. We look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.